is the geography of that? How does that work out physically, that this demilitarized zone in between Federation space and Romulan space also lies between one area of Federation space and another area of Federation space? Like, I don't see how that works in 3 dimensions. Welcome to Trekkie Tuesdays. Today's episode is The Deadly Years.
The Deadly Years.
Or possibly The Deadly Years. I don't know which way you're supposed to say. I think it's like The Golden Years, except it's The Deadly Years.
I feel like you just said it the same way twice.
No. The Deadly Years, or The Deadly Years.
Anyway, in this episode, everyone gets old.
It could also be The Deadly Years. Because, like, maybe they had two Y's by accident.
No, wrong. Everyone gets old, and that's, like, because of radiation. Unexplained.
But
don't worry, because adrenaline
fixes
it. I thought this was actually, like, a somewhat moving episode. I don't know. Maybe I just, like, have, like, some piece of me that has issues with aging or something, but I just feel like they really highlighted how hard getting old is and how it's never this, like, romantic, like, oh, you know, you'll be ready when you're old. It's like, no, it's this scary thing that just sort of happens to you, I feel like. Not that I'm that old, so maybe I don't really know what this is like, but to me, that's what my fear is that one day I'm just going to wake up and be really old and won't be able to do the things I used to be able to do, and it's going to suck, and you're going to wish that there was some cure that the doctor could come up with. And in this episode they do, so they were okay, so maybe we will be okay too someday.
Maybe. I'm holding out for a hero.
Yeah, check out the anti-aging movement if you have, like, no idea what we're talking about. It's apparently some people think that will someday be something that we can fix.
There's an excellent book on this topic. It's called Long for This World. It's by Jonathan Weider. He's my dad. It's got me in it. And it's about the anti-aging movement in general, and Aubrey de Grey in particular, and it's a lot of fun.
McCoy gets a southern accent, which we talked a lot about afterwards. And I just thought that was, like, McCoy's just not a very good actor, and, like, when he's in distress, like, weird accents flourish. But Aaron has a more reasonable theory, which I think you should say.
Yeah, so I think McCoy is conceived of as a Southern character. This is not the first time he's had a Southern accent. And I think the general Star Trek approach to ethnicity is that everybody under normal circumstances is white, including Uhura. And then when some strange mental thing happens to them, they become their ethnicity, if they have one. Kirk doesn't have an ethnicity, but most of them do. When Uhura gets her memory wiped, she starts speaking Swahili. When Riley gets infected by the thing, he gets a thick Irish accent and starts singing Irish songs and talking about how awesome Ireland is. And when McCoy gets hit by the flower spores that make him happy, they also make him Southern. And when he becomes old, he becomes Southern. It's just everybody is in a constant fight to stay white, and whenever anything messes with that, they become whatever they were underneath.
But then what's the deal with Scotty and with Chekhov?
Well,
not that Scotty's very Scottish, but he's got something going on.
So Scotty doesn't give a crap what anybody thinks of him, and so he doesn't hide his ethnicness.
And Chekhov's really proud of being Russian.
Yeah, Chekhov is proud of being Russian, and he likes pushing against taboos. Like, whenever he talks about Russia, he gives this little smirk because he knows he's getting away with something. Because you're not supposed to talk about your ethnicity, and people, it's a little indecorous. Everybody goes,
Also, McCoy has these, like, really crazy bushy eyebrows, and they make him look old, and that's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And while I thought McCoy's acting was bad, I thought Kirk, Shatner just is not usually, to me, what I would say is a good actor, but something about this episode, I just was like, yes, that's exactly how Captain Kirk would act if he was like getting older. Like that would be exactly what it would feel like. And I feel like it kind of touched on something, which was like this idea of like just of 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 that feeling of feeling obsolete, but also like I think I don't know, like I think there was something about, this idea that right around the, early 70s, late 60s, you kind of are having like a new world is kind of coming out in America where suddenly white men don't hold all the power and they have to be sort of like dethroned a little bit. And while I support that, I think generally like, whatever, like things weren't so good a long time ago, and not that long ago, I guess I should say. I'm still not probably for many people, but I think, but there's also with that, I think when you look for the point of view of, well, what does that feel like for him? That's a hard thing, and just on a personal level. And it doesn't mean it shouldn't happen, but it's like something to think about, I guess. It's like feelings, people have them. I don't know. So I thought that was sort of an interesting expression, maybe, of like a sign of the times or something. I don't know. I'm probably reading way too much into this. It's probably just, wouldn't it be cool if there's a Star Trek and everyone was old? And it's like, yeah, sure. And of course, like now it feels kind of poignant because everyone is old.
It's surreal, yeah. Watching this 40-year-old show and having the plot be that everybody is suddenly 40 years older. It's spoiled a bit by the fact that they didn't know exactly how everybody was going to age. So we know what these people actually look like in their aged forms, and it's not quite the same.
But I think relatively realistic makeup for some. Not for McCoy though. McCoy just looked really weird to me.
And they had a bunch of different stages, like with varying success of aging for everybody.
What else happened in this episode?
So we were both very struck by the scene where Kirk is given the serum, the adrenaline serum, to cure him, and it's going to either cure him or kill him, and they want to leave it ambiguous about which it's going to be. So they give him the serum, and then in order to avoid showing what's actually happening, but just to show that he's writhing around as it takes effect, the camera just zooms in on his crotch.
Like multiple times. It was weird.
His crotch just, thrusts in a way to indicate that he is having fits and seizures and stuff.
Odd camera choice there.
Mm-hmm. It sort of accentuates the, one of the like two subplots that Kirk gets as a result of him aging. The main one is this interminable one about whether or not he's going to be allowed to stay captain even though he's getting old. But the other plot is that the endocrinologist, the ship's endocrinologist, she's an old flame of Kirk's, and she's trying to rekindle that, and Kirk has been rebuffing her advances from the beginning, and then once he gets old, she's still hitting on him, and he refuses because he's old, and it seems like he only wants women to be attracted to him for his youth and virility and stuff, and so he rejects her for that reason. He feels like it would be pity sex, or something.
Or something. Like I didn't really understand that scene or their romance. Really, like it didn't make any sense to me.
But then they get just like a half second of chemistry at the very end when it's clear that they're going to, now that he's cured and now that he's saved the day, they're going to run off and have sex. And it's just a half second of them looking at each other and those two are going to be going at it.
We should mention that the carbonite maneuver comes back.
Corbomite.
Whatever, it's made up anyway. Alright, carbomite.
But it's made up twice. Corb.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you're saying carb.
Alright, Corb-O-Mite came back in this episode in like a really great way, and I liked it a lot. I thought it was very clever. I was like, how is Kirk gonna do this? Like, I mean, obviously he's gonna save the day, but how is he gonna do it? And totally did it. Boom. Totally got it.
The idea is to show that all of this dithering about whether it's okay to have somebody other than Kirk be in charge of the ship is justified in that moment because he was the only one who had the moxie and the and the intelligence and the quick thinking to save the day. In the middle of the story, this part really didn't work for me. Kirk is clearly getting senile, but refuses to give up command. You know, his memory is going. His mind's not as sharp. You know, he's not senile, but he refuses to give up command, and Spock is really reluctant to relieve him against his will, so they have to hold a competency hearing. And it's just really stupid because this hearing goes on and on and on in the middle of this crisis with everybody.
Where they're like going to die in either in days or even hours.
Right, which
people are
say
just
right
dropping dead, and it's like, why would they have this hearing?
And I said at one point, at least McCoy's not there, but then he is. McCoy, the ship's doctor, and one of the people who is affected by this is being pulled into this hearing, and they keep talking about how disastrous it would be if the wrong person were left in charge, but everybody who could possibly be in charge is in that room. If you're all there, who's minding the store right now during this crisis?
And I don't know, if Kirk is just gonna die in 10 hours or something, why couldn't you just distract him for 10? Why would you, in his last few hours, you're going to, make him not a captain anymore? No, you would, say, oh, Captain, we really need you in engineering.
There's comedy with Chekhov.
I think there was a genuinely, it opens with a genuinely kind of scary scene. I mean, I wasn't that scared, but I think, it's a little scary. You think about, little kids watching, and, Chekhov goes into this dark room, and there's this dead body that just, the lights turn on, and Chekhov starts screaming, and, for Chekhov to scream, you're like, oh my god, this is really bad.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It's good. It serves a good double purpose, because it's both a great teaser, and it ends up being the key to the whole thing, because that adrenaline that he suffered,
whatever. But anyway, yeah. What are you gonna do?
Tune in next week for another one.
Episode of Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Yes, there's an excellent book on the topic.
Oh yeah.
I have no particular reason recommending, no close family interest, but it's called Long for This World. It's by Jonathan Wiener, no relation, false.
If you can't say